everyone, welcome. My name is Bria Thompson. I'm a photographer based in Phoenix, Arizona, and today I kind of just wanted to talk to you guys about model safety and how you guys can keep yourself safe while building your portfolio. I was recently on a Facebook group and someone described an experience like their friend went to meet up with a photographer or planned to meet up with a photographer who they met on Craigslist. And guys, it was not obvious enough already. Meeting strangers online is very dangerous. You need to do your research, but I do understand the desire and the need to build work without spending an insane amount of money. A lot of photographers, especially here on YouTube, kind of promote doing time for print work, TFP, and I back that 100%. That is the best way to build your portfolio at first until you can start doing paid jobs, or maybe like until you get money to actually work with a professional photographer. That way you can bring it to agencies and get signed. So I completely understand wanting to do all that, but what I don't want to happen is that young girls, young boys, you know, people who are vulnerable going out and engaging with photographers who don't have their best interests at heart. So I just wanted to come here and give you some advice, some tips, some background information that could help you safely and successfully build your portfolio. First off, picking out a photographer. So do your research. You know, a lot of people go to Model Mayhem, Craigslist, which just don't do it. But yeah, people do. I say don't. Number one, don't. But they do Craigslist, Model Mayhem, which is a little bit more reputable, but not too reputable, if you know what I'm saying. People go to Instagram and they do Facebook and things like that. No matter the platform, no matter how you find somebody, do your research. Look up their social media, their Instagram, see if they have a website. Like, make sure they have a website. Honestly, if they don't have a website, I personally wouldn't really work with them, even if they do kind of have a nice Instagram. But, you know, if they have a clean Instagram and it's there, fine. But I would just personally, if they have a website, then you can go on there, and if they have testimonials up, that's even better. So kind of look for a really reputable, clean website or Instagram. If you're looking on Instagram and they don't have a website, maybe look at the comments and see like what people are saying. Kind of click into the comments and see like the person who's commenting's profile. See if they're kind of like a normal person. You know, do your research. It's perfectly okay to deep dive into people's research. Also, Google their names. I think a lot of, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I do know that you can look up if someone's a sex offender or not. I'm not sure how much of someone's criminal history you can look up without being a part of the federal government. I don't know too much information about that, but if I do find any links where you can Google someone's name to find criminal records, I will link them below. Yeah, but there are many public databases that tell you if someone's a sex offender or not, and I 110% encourage you to go and look at that before you even like reach out to them. Okay, do your background research before you even message somebody. The next thing is to look at their body of work. What is the type of work that they are producing? Does it align with yours? I think that's kind of what a lot of people get a little fuddled up with. Just because someone's a professional, just because someone works in the industry, does not mean that their body of work and your body of work will align. A lot of photographers, when we look at models, we think, oh, does their look align with my work? Will they fit my style? You know, would they look good in this shoot? Would they look good in that shoot? You as a model should be doing the same thing. Do they shoot in a style that I would want presented in my portfolio? Are they just shooting women, naked, half-naked women in a studio with blown out lights and things like that and flashing around camera gear? Are they really invested in their subject? What does their work say to me? And if it doesn't speak to you, don't shoot with them. Just because they're doing time for print doesn't mean that it's going to be something that you would want to put in your portfolio. And when you put something in your portfolio, you want it to be your best work and the best work you can possibly get. Don't just put stuff in there just to put stuff in there, because then you're not showing your best self and you're not believing in yourself. So that's another thing. So just be picky. Be picky. So just to be clear, because I was kind of all over the place with that point, I would say the 3 places that you should go to look for photographers is someone that you're paying. If not, go on Instagram, find somebody with a reputable website, or go through Instagram DMs. But do your research within the comments. Those are like the only places that I feel like are the best places to go. Even with Model Mayhem, even with it being a site kind of designated for that, you still get sketchy people, you still get predators and things like that. Okay, so say you get in contact with a photographer now. You did all your research, you checked through the comments, you looked at testimonials, you asked other people in your community what they think of that photographer. So say you do all that and then you message them and they message you back and they're like, hey, I'm really excited to work with you, but I need a couple of things from you. And they ask you for nudes. Never, ever, 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 ever send nudes to a photographer. They don't need it at all. If they ask for nudes, run. Do not send any. Don't even entertain it. Block them immediately and let other people know who may be in contact with this photographer that they're a creep. In no way will a photographer actually need nude photos of you to do anything. And if they say they need these nude photos, it's only to do one thing, and you do not want to be a part of that one thing. Trust me. So say they don't even do that. Say they just say, okay, like, let's put together a shoot. I'm thinking this date at this time and this location. And you say, okay, let's go. Like, let's do it. And say you get to the set and, you know, you're doing a shoot. It's going okay. Everything's fine. And then he asks you, can you take your top off? Or can you do nude? If it was not previously discussed in the initial contact, you do not have to do it. You can shut that shoot down immediately and walk away. A lot of people are nervous about doing this because they're like, oh, like, what if my career, like, what if this ruins my career? What if he badmouths me to other photographers? What if they like blackball me? Things like that. I feel bad because I'm wasting their time. No, you're not. You're keeping yourself safe. Leave immediately. I don't suggest you going to photo shoots by yourself, but I will talk about that in a next point. But if that happens, leave. But sometimes I do understand that, you know, it might just be a suggestion. So you can first give a firm no if you feel comfortable. Be like, no, I don't feel comfortable with that. Can we please just continue on with what I have on now? And if they're persistent with it, if they're really aggressive about it, shut it down, go. I honestly think that you should shut it down in the first place and leave. But sometimes I do understand that, like, you know, sometimes you get the creativeness flowing and they're like, oh, let me just see. But I highly suggest just shutting it down immediately and leaving and informing other models and other photographers what happened. Because if you talk about it, if you talk about a person and people are aware of that person, you know, it keeps everybody safe. A big thing about nudity is that, like, most photographers will handle it in a very, sorry, there's like notes out here, but most photographers will handle nudity in a very sensitive manner because you are being vulnerable to a camera and there's a lot of trust involved. So to build that trust, what a lot of photographers will do is, like, within the initial contact, they'll say, hey, I have this concept in mind. It's a boudoir shoot, or it's a artistic nude shoot, or it's a completely nude shoot, or it's an implied shoot. Those are the key words that you should be looking out for, and you should determine if you want to do those in the initial contact. And the photographer should be straightforward with you in that like in that context. And so if you feel okay, if you're kind of curious about doing something like that and you think it would benefit you in your portfolio, you should say, okay, I would like to know a little bit more about the shoot. Can you please send me a why am I blanking on it? Oh, can you please send me a mood board? Ask for a mood board. Ideally, a photographer should come to you with a mood board, but sometimes if you're reaching out to them, they won't have one prepared for you yet. So you can ask them, okay, I'm interested in this and I would love to work with you, but can you send me a mood board? Because I would like to know a little bit more about this shoot. And your photographer should be perfectly okay with that. They should respect that. If they don't, that's a red flag. So say you got all your terms set for the shoot, you know what's going on, and you're just getting ready and prepared and you're waiting for the day of the shoot. These are some things that I would suggest to you. Always bring a friend. And usually photographers don't mind if you bring friends. I encourage people to bring friends, because when you have a friend there, your model tends to be more comfortable, and you have extra hands. Like if a photographer is like, no, I don't want your friends there, or no, like no one can be there, that's a red flag. But sometimes like they're just kind of like, oh, it'll make you stiff, it might disrupt the flow of things, we might not have enough space. Bring a friend anyway and have them sit in the car. And when you get there, be like, oh hey, let the photographer know that there's someone there. Like, let them know. Okay. I'd be like, hey, I'm up here, I have so-and-so waiting in the car for me. They're just gonna chill in the car. And sometimes they'll be like, oh, they don't have to sit in the car, there's a waiting room out here. Or be like, oh, okay, like I don't want them to have to sit in the car, they can come sit here. But even if they don't say any of that, they know that there's someone out there looking out for you and you're safe. You know what I'm saying? So that's better for you. So say you can't get a friend to come to one of your shoots. See if you can get like your mom, your boyfriend, your dad, your brother, your sister, something like that. Say you go through all the list of people that you could possibly bring to a shoot and none of them can go. What you need to do is you need to get a full schedule from the photographer and full details from the photographer. My mom, she's kind of crazy. When I would go on dates, she would actually take pictures of my boyfriend's or my date's license plates, so she knows where, like if something happens, she can say, hey, she was with this person last, here's their license plate, their name, and things like that. So you're giving identification to a person. And even now, like I don't really, if I'm going on a date or if I'm meeting up with a stranger, I let someone know. Even if it's not my parents, if it's not my sister, I let a friend know, someone who's close to me, who has my parents and my family's contact information. So the same thing applies to meeting up with photographers and things like that. Make sure that you have a full schedule of the shoot, how long it's gonna take, where is it at, the crossroads, the photographer's name, first and last name, links to their website, links to their social media. If you can get a picture of the photographer's license plate, if you know what their car looks like, get a picture of that. Get a picture of the photographer's face. It should be on their website, it should be on their Instagram somewhere, Send all that information to I would say at least 3 people. And with those 3 people, set up kind of a system. My family, since we were young, we had code words and code questions. So for example, I'm not going to give away our super ones just in case I get kidnapped one day, but let's say it's a very family specific question. An example of a question would be, what was the color of the carpet when we first moved into our house? And the answer is like a clear, concise answer. So you'd say white. Say that you haven't been really contacting someone in a while, things are getting weird, your family starting to get worried. So they text you and they say, what is the color, well, what was the color, I forgot the question, what was the color of the carpet that we had when we first moved into the house? And they asked that question, and if you don't respond white like previously discussed, they know something might be wrong, and then they can pick up the phone, call you. And then if you don't answer, then they can use the contact information that they have to find you. That works sometimes. One time I actually forgot that that was our whole system, and one time my mom forgot that that was our whole system, and it was a mess. But if you kind of have like clear, if you don't have so many of those little code questions and answers, then it's easier to keep track of. But I do suggest like setting that up. But if anything, I would set it up like this. You drive yourself to the shoot, you text your 3 people, your 1 person, your whatever, hey, I'm here, we should be done by this time. And then, you know, you might take a break, or, you know, your photographer might have to reset up something during the shoot. So during that time, you'd be like, hey, things are going, you can text and be like, hey, things are going great, we'll still be done by this time. Or if, you know, you guys are just having a creative time, you could text or call and be like, hey, like, you know, we're kind of having a good time right now, we might end up a little bit later. So you let them know that. But say you don't do that, at the end of the shoot, you should, by the time the shoot ends, you should have that person text you or call you and say, hey, how's things going, are you about to wrap up? And at that time you can say, oh yeah, we're just wrapping up, we're done. Or you could say, hey, we're extending the time just a little bit. If they don't hear anything back from you, say for about 20 minutes after the shoot time ends, they should know that something's up. Maybe they should send someone to the location to check on you. Maybe, you know, they should drive over to the location to check on you. Maybe they should call the police. That's something that you should set up as well, just for your own safety and for everyone's peace of mind, especially when you're meeting someone new. Eventually you'll kind of build trust with your photographers and people that you're working with, so that won't really be a problem. But at first, when you're you know, meeting people for the first time, that is something that should be happening. Be very careful with who you're communicating with and who you're contacting with. I hope, like, when I presented this information, it wasn't terrifying. I hope that it was more approachable, and I hope that it was helpful. I hope that I wasn't very babbly or anything like that, and that it was clear and concise, and that you guys can use this information. I don't want to scare anyone, because, you know, this is such a fun field to be in. It's so fun, you know, collaborating with a team group, especially, you know, with photographers and models and hair and makeup and things like that, and making it bigger and making something wonderful that you guys are all proud of. It's wonderful doing that, and I feel like everyone should have the chance to do that. But I also think that everyone should be safe while doing it. And I felt really called to, like, talk about this, because a lot of people fall prey to this. I live by a mall, you know, and it's kind of known for human sex trafficking, or sex trafficking. Is it human sex trafficking or just sex trafficking? I don't know, but it's kind of known for it. And I think about it, and I think about all the times when I was in middle school walking around the mall, and they had these older girls handing out flyers about modeling agencies, and they're like, oh, do you want to model? Like, have you ever wanted to model? Like, you could just call this and this and this. And sometimes it's just scammy, sometimes it's just like, you know, fake agencies like trying to get money out of people, and you have to pay to be represented by them. Sometimes it's that, but then as I've grown throughout the years, and as I've learned that a lot of times people who want to get young girls or young boys into sex trafficking, they get older women to recruit them. And so now I kind of wonder how many of those women were targeting these young people, saying, you should be a model, you're so pretty, or like, oh my god, would you like to be a model, like things like that, and handing them these flyers. And how many of those people actually took those flyers and went somewhere and gotten hurt? And so I don't know, I just really really want to make sure that, you know, no one's being subjected to that. My younger sister, she was recently signed to an agency, well, not too long ago. She doesn't really do much of the modeling stuff anymore unless it's for me, so it makes me feel special. But anyway, she was recently signed to an agency, and one of my worries was that, you know, even though she's signed to a reputable agency, how are they going to treat her? Because even if it is a reputable agency, you don't know these photographers, you don't know these managers, you don't know this and that, and so you need to do your research. And I guess that's kind of when I started to look more into model safety, and I realized that not a lot of people talk about model safety. I just feel like I hear a lot of model horror stories. Recently, what was the place called? I think it's called, or not place, but it's an Instagram account. I'll link it below. I think it's called Shit Model Management, and they made a list of Instagram photographers who have been accused of sexual assault or harassment. The list has been since taken down. They made that list, and it was like a really big thing for a while, and I feel like, you know, you as people, we have to make these places safe so that other people can thrive in them. You kind of have to look out for each other in that sense, and so make sure you are looking out for other people. If your friend tells you that oh, like, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna model, and I met this guy on like Craigslist, and he told me that, you know, all I have to do is send him a couple of nudes, and all I have to do is like just send them to his email, and then we'll like set up a time, and then I'll go there, and then, you know, I'll make he'll like, you know, we'll do all the shoots or whatever, fully clothed, like there's like no nudity. You know, if you hear stuff like that, and or if someone's, because sometimes it's not that obvious, if something in your gut is just telling you this isn't right, ask them, ask your friend, ask yourself, you know, what is it about this that doesn't feel right? Who are you getting in contact to? Have you researched them enough? And sometimes, you know what, sometimes you're not going to get a clear answer. Sometimes you're just going to be afraid. And sometimes, you know, it's just going to be this gut-wrenching, like, gravity, like, pulling feeling that you shouldn't do something, or they shouldn't do something, or something's not right. Follow that instinct and protect yourself, really. There are a lot of predators just lurking around looking to take advantage of people, and I think it's so unfair because, you know, these are aspiring models, photographers, makeup artists, things like of that nature, who are looking to make their dreams come true, and you're taking advantage of them, and, you know, you're hurting them. And I think that's super unfair. So I just hope that what I talked about in this video kind of gives you some background information and kind of gives you some tips on how to be safe. Also, oh my gosh, sorry, it's like a lot, because it really makes me sad, especially, you know, with the start of the Me Too movement. You have a lot of women and men coming forward talking about sexual assault in the workplace, and especially in like Hollywood and creative industries like that, and, you know, photography is kind of a branch off of that, and so it really makes me sad. So if you have experienced sexual assault or sexual harassment of any kind, I will leave some resources down below, and I will also leave a link to Shan Boody's #MeToo video. She talked about her experience with modeling, and I think it'll kind of resonate with some people. It'll kind of give you a more personal experience. And yeah, additionally, if your friend or someone close to you is interested in doing modeling, please keep that line of communication with them open. Encourage them to inform their parents about what they're doing. Encourage them to at least, you know, let someone know where they're going, what they plan to do. And you know what? If your friend doesn't listen to you and they meet up with strangers, it sucks and it's a weird position to be in as like a teenager or even as an adult. Let someone who cares about them know, and also like get as much information as you can about the situation. But yes, I've left a bunch of links down below and feel free to utilize it. Leave a comment with any tips that you might have, any experiences that you might have, and leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next Friday. Bye.